Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for your kind words. And you are correct. The world is full of suffering, and we're also able, with God's help, to overcome it. Before coming here this afternoon, I was in St. Bernard at Our Lady of Crumbsucker Church. And as many of you know from the news, they had scheduled the funeral of Katrina. And there literally was a casket there where people could put notes inside the casket, and I didn't offer to read any of them, to Katrina, but also to remember loved ones. And when the casket was closed, and like you, I'm sure I know all of us have been to many, many funerals. I have never been to a funeral where when the casket was closed, everybody applauded. Even if you may have some stories about the person in the casket, we don't usually applaud. But there was this great applause at the church as the casket was closed, and people were able to say, let's let Katrina die. We must go on. We must be a people of hope. We must let her go. And so we believe, and we truly do believe, that Katrina is gone. Wherever she is, we know that she is, her spirit of destruction no longer lives in New Orleans. As Lucy mentioned, I was not here for Katrina, and I remember it quite well for two reasons. Not only because I had a lot of relatives and friends where I was in Texas at the time, living with me, but also I followed it so closely on television, and it really was painful. It was a real story of brokenness, of that fragile line between life and death. And as I followed it, being a native New Orleanian, it was really heartbreaking. And like the mayor said earlier, I have trouble calling this an anniversary, and I know that it's been advertised this whole weekend as the anniversary. I think it's more importantly a commemoration. We come together to remember and to commemorate. And as we do so, we commemorate, I think, for three reasons. One, we come together still in a spirit of grief. Secondly, in a spirit of gratitude. And thirdly, in a spirit of hope. Still grief because some of the first responders, those heroes, lost their lives in order to save others. True heroes, giving their earthly life to try to give life to another. Those heroes, as well as relatives and friends for many of you, many of us, who lost their lives, hundreds upon hundreds, during Hurricane Katrina. We don't erase that memory. And so we still, 5 years later, we do come together with a certain level of grief. But secondly, we come with gratitude. We come with gratitude in a very special way today, and I would not miss this event as an opportunity to say thank you to the first responders. You are the heroes, and I'm sure that most of you would say, I simply did what I was asked to do. I simply did what I was supposed to do, what I was trained to do. But you did more. You gave life. You were there as the first responders. And we are grateful to you, and I would not miss this event as an opportunity to say thanks to you and to God for you. And we also give thanks to all of those who have helped our city rebuild in the many different ways that it has. Thirdly, we gather in hope. There was some hope, as slim as it may have looked like 5 years ago, but on that day when all of this was happening, and on that time when all of this was happening, people were praying for hope, they were talking about hope, and hope became a reality as first responders came in and offered their hand, and offered their heart, and offered their ear. To you, the heroes of that day, we say thank you. And also there was hope because we knew that in the midst of that tragedy and that difficulty, we knew that as difficult as it was, and as hopeless as it may have seemed, God had not abandoned us. Where was God 5 years ago? Here in New Orleans. Crying with the best of us, reaching out with his hand and his heart to save those, and to try to save those who were feeling a sense of loss and hopelessness. I would like to end with just this thought. There are some things, it seems to me, that the human mind simply is not capable of grasping. thousands and thousands of years ago, the great prophet Job in the Old Testament went to God and said in his own way, "Why do bad things happen to very good people?" More recently, a couple of decades ago, a great rabbi, Harold Kushner, wrote a book on exactly the same question. Why do bad things happen to good people? For those of you who have been a part of this event of Katrina, and for those of us who have watched it, we ask some of that too. Good people, wonderful people living in New Orleans and the metropolitan area, why does something so tragic and challenging and devastating happen? And very honestly, the human mind does not have that answer. And we will not fully know that answer until we see our God face to face. But what we do know, we don't know, first of all, why bad things happen to good people. We do know that when bad things happen, God is present. God is faithful. He never abandons his people. He is the faithful one who brings us through tragedy. He is the faithful one who helps us to see that in the midst of the worst of tragedies, there are silver linings. Where there is death, there is new life. There is resurrection. Where there is hopelessness, he brings us to hope. And that's why we're here today, to thank God and to thank those who have been a part of this important story for us as a people of New Orleans, as a people of faith. My prayerful thanks and my heartfelt salute to the first responders. You are still heroes. We are grateful for you. We are grateful for your continued work in our city and for all that you continue to give every day and to risk your lives for us. And we are thankful that with you today, we can say goodbye to Katrina. Wherever she is, she's not in New Orleans. But what rests here is hope. And I thank Lucy and Chaplain Joe for the opportunity for all of us to gather. Thank you.